Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of ARC Advisory Group's Digital Transformation Podcast. My name is Bob Gill, ARC General Manager for the Southeast Asia region. And today I'm delighted to have with me Mr. Friedhelm Best, Vice President, Asia Pacific region at HIMA. So a very warm welcome to you, Friedhelm, and thank you for being with us here today.
Hello, Bob. Thank you for being here, and thanks for inviting me. I feel delighted to talk today about functional safety and digital transformation in various industries.
Perhaps I could start off with asking you this question. What is the best way of describing HIMA as a company to perhaps people who may not know you very well or may know a little bit about HIMA? What would you say is the best way of describing HIMA as a company?
Yeah, okay, let me give a few facts about HIMA and describe this. So the HIMA Group is the world's leading independent provider of smart safety solutions for industrial applications. So our customers in the various industries as process or rail industry rely on the HIMA solutions, services and consultancy for uninterrupted plant operations, and most important, to protect people, asset, and the environment. Our customers around the world have installed more than 35,000 certified safety systems, and this qualifies us as a technology leader in this sector. And our experts and engineers develop customized solutions that help to increase the safety, address cybersecurity nowadays, and keep the profitability of plants and factories up on the highest level in this digital age. So we are a family-owned companies, more than 110 years exist, and around 800 employees around the world. And we are operating from 50 locations worldwide. And our headquarters is located in Germany.
And I know that this year marks 10 years for you working at HIMA. So first of all, congratulations on that. And what are some of the roles you've had in the company during that time over this last decade?
Yeah, thank you recognizing this. And the last 10 years started with, I was responsible for the Europe and Africa organization in HIMA, well, contains a region with a few subsidiaries in Europe and sales and service centers in Africa. And I was responsible for the entire operations there. We delivered at that time really interesting projects for exploration and production in Congo or Norway for the oil and gas industry, and in Europe itself was mainly about downstream business or for refineries or petrochemical, and a completely other market we served there in Europe was the rail industry. And yeah, that gave me a good foundation of HIMA itself, the safety culture, and also learn from the European countries how safety is adapted there.
So experience in quite a few regions around the world, and now in your present position in Singapore as Vice President Asia Pacific, what are your key responsibilities and also your main objectives here?
Yeah, well, when I moved 5 years back here to Southeast Asia and took over the responsibility to form here a regional organization, and this includes our HIMA operations in Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Korea. And today we have really here motivated and experienced team serving the customers here and bringing that what we did for customers already in other parts of the world closer here to the customers. What does it mean? So today we are engineer all these customized projects in the region, and we're starting from early project engagement as with consultancy, or we are providing here trainings in the regions and going into the life cycle. So I have also people in the plants helping the customer provide service for them if it is for any kind of work on the safety systems during the life cycle. So we have here a team of really functional safety engineers and experts, and I'm responsible for the entire operation of HIMA here in the Asia Pacific region. And one of the tasks is to the regional organization, which is mainly done, and also set up here a regional headquarters in Singapore with more competence centers.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So just now you mentioned 5 years. So how has the business evolved during that time? And I presume you've had a lot of successes, perhaps also some challenges. How has Has the business growth been within your expectations?
Oh yes, it's when we see before we were acting more each of the countries itself. Now we really could bring to the customer the full capacity of HIMA from the region, and as well have now leveraged better than before all the experience we have somewhere else in the region. So we have also close collaboration with our teams in China or in Middle East, and that from the complexity of the systems we are delivering and the projects we are executing, it has increased. And we went into other markets in there and could increase our footprint into a few countries where we before didn't had been present. And so that was really a huge step here, and for us gave us also, be honest, more visibility for the customers, because we address now more the customer needs and pain points in the region, because we are closer to the customers than before.
So moving into process safety itself, how would you assess and describe the level of process safety consciousness and awareness compared to other regions of the world? And the reason I ask this question is that Asia is often considered, not just in process safety, but safety generally, as somewhat lagging. I think especially Europe, in terms of its importance, in terms of the attention paid to it. So, but what's your impression of the region when it comes to process safety and consciousness and awareness?
There are really difference between countries and industries, as we see in the process safety or functional safety arena. If we take on one side, part of Asia Pacific is Australia, where they have a very strong framework of regulators, of standards, which is very close to that what is in UK or in Europe or US. If we look in Southeast Asia, here Singapore made a huge step 4 years back with the safety case regime, which the government put in place, and that shows also that it's really a strong force comes from governments when they adapt international safety regulations. So now all major hazard operations in Singapore, which are more than 100, have to fulfill this safety case regime, which is the best of some other countries. So Singapore looked into Australia, UK, Europe. And in some other countries and industries, we see also that the multinational companies, they are bringing in also a safety culture, safety processes, as they have established in other parts of the world. So that's especially in oil and gas or chemical companies, you will see this. But there's also room for improvement. When there is not a strong safety established in the laws, then yes, the international standards should be utilized there. But that where some countries, they may be lacking a bit behind, because starting from the education, skilled engineers, and the availability of even advisors or consultants, which makes it a little bit complicated for them really to adapt this. But we see across Asia, and I include here also China, we see that due to incidents happened, the awareness for safety is increasing, and the local regulators and companies are looking for help and support. And we saw this, also be honest, decades back in Europe. And one of the turning points was the offshore platform incident, Piper Eiffel in the North Sea, where more than 100 workers lost their life. And after the investigation, the conclusion out of that, then the safety procedures really dramatically increased, and standards were more further developed for the safety of the workers and the operations. And in Asia, we would like to help that it's not an incident which is a turning point. It's really to learn from the experience from other countries and markets, and to avoid any catastrophic.
So it sounds like quite a bit of variation across the region, but also some improvement that you're seeing, at least in the 5 years that you've been here.
Yes, absolutely. That is, I gave already the example of Singapore. We see it as well in Malaysia or Thailand, and also in Indonesia, in new projects, more and more the international standards are there, or even national committees and working groups are formed to really bring this forward. And we are among with other working here to bring more awareness. That's one thing, but also to bring more knowledge into that, what the standard means, what is from the competencies of the engineers working on projects are required. So it's a journey, and we hope each day, each week, and each month we can do a step forward, as I said, to really avoid any incident here which runs out of control.
Okay. I read this following statement recently from HIMA, and I'll just read it out. In the era of Industry 4.0, everything is interconnected. Therefore, safety systems must be just as smart as the production processes of the future. So here I think we're touching on this topic of digital transformation. So Friedhelm, if I can ask you, what does smart safety actually mean at HIMA?
Yeah, you're absolutely right with saying that the world gets more interconnected, and it's not the world, it's really in our industry where the more devices are coming which are connected to each other, and all these devices are connected to a network, and at the end it's a lot with digital technology, and more equipment is there. This increasing number of information technologies, communication devices, and smart devices are into the modern control systems. This really leads to another view on this. What does it mean for safety? Because with that, the degree of complexity increase also. The interconnection amongst the systems increase. And if someone still relies on last generation safety concepts, is taking a considerable risk, because not taking in consideration that this interconnectivity is there, and also vulnerability there, like from cybersecurity is coming. All this needs to come in, and that's what we included in our smart safety solutions, the increase of safety and the uptime by turning data into business relevant information. And that's what Industry 4.0 is, right? It's providing more data up in the entire organization, and to have some learnings out of that, to have some readings out of that, and the data need to be provided. This we won't like to stop, and but to support it with a smart safety solution.
So how does that translate into your product and solution offerings then, that this concept of smart safety?
So we are looking more in the, how can we connect a safety system to others? How can we make it really an integrated part, but still keep this, not to make compromise on safety? Because the safety, you can't operate really like in Iceland. It must be really work together with all the other control systems, or if it is HMIs, and also from the instrumentation, data coming up, maybe going up into the ERP system to have a better control of when the next maintenance is needed. So the smart part here is in that from the early beginning, what is the platform? This starts from controllers, what interfaces are available, is it open interfaces, which are standards, and then from the software part, are we able to provide data and integrate data there from the engineering tools, goes over in the architecture around there, the network. You should have for the network a separate network for safety, but you cannot isolate it completely, so because otherwise you don't have any data for your operations available. So that is a smart thing in there. So more open interfaces, but not to compromise from the security point of view, and providing more data for the operations, for the safe operations. So that's how we already made steps, and going forward in this digital transformation, which not stops the safety system, and we need to be here ahead.
I think it's interesting, Friedhelm, that one of the first times we met in Singapore was not at a automation exhibition or a safety event. It was actually at an ICS security event. So, and we're hearing a lot more these days about the need for safety plus security, like cyber security. So my question is, how does this translate this safety plus security, how does that translate into the offerings that HIMA provides for your customers?
Yeah, so we know now in the meantime, over the last years, we saw even a safety system is a target or had been already target of outside attacks. The safety systems should not be compromised, because if you manipulate a safety system, you are running into a risk that your plant can run out of, or your production can run out of control. And so the security plays a more and more important role also for that. So the safety system itself is something we said, okay, you look at the beginning of your project on what is the risk, then you ring fence it, you reduce the risk, and that's what a safety system is doing, and to keep it over the lifetime. Security is now something which comes from outside, so not the process itself is a risk, it's from outside the risk is coming in and change daily or weekly. And so that in the meantime, we also are supporting these standards and a more systematic approach, because even it is changing each day. You need to have a systematic approach for this. And it's not only a hardware, it's not only the trained people, it's the processes which also plays a role. So that is now even the safety standards have embedded this. If you develop a safety system, you need to make a security assessment there to address this already from the beginning. And there are different elements. One element is you can say, okay, the hardware itself, what to do with that, or you need to put some barriers in there. You need to really, as much as possible, isolate from the communication. So that's what we are doing with the development of our controllers. Then how you run the software. The software, HIMA is coding it everything ourselves to avoid that we have any software modules which have any backdoors there. So that is another security part. This is what the customer is buying from us when they get our hardware and software. But the other is how you engineer a whole system. Then you have the network around that, the infrastructure, you have workstations, and then it's the whole life cycle. You need constantly assess it and monitor the security in your network. So all this is now embedded into the safety standards and in the engineering standards for safety systems.
Probably a related issue, and as you well know, there has been a long-running debate in the industry about control systems and safety systems integration versus separation. So what is HIMA's take on this issue?
Yeah, look, the safety standards, which based on experience from the past, it's showing and it's describing the independency. This is a major pillar of the safety standards, especially the 61508, which is a basic standard for functional safety. Then there had been a time where the whole industry was looking for, how can we make it more lean, work on the same platform, maybe using the same communication buses and so on. To simplify it between the control system and integrate maybe the safety system into the control system. That was more to find opportunities to reduce the complexity during the engineering phase, and even later on not to deal with different systems. Over the last years, the independency got more important again because of the security point of view, because now everyone who had really said, I have an independent safety system and it's not connected by the same field bus or system bus, by the same engineering tool to the main control system, I would say, okay, I have already one element that from the security point of view, I have these different zones, how it's called in cybersecurity. So that is now, again, shows that the independence of the different systems are important. And the benefits are as well, if you have an instrumentation failure in your process automation system, it should not affect the process safety, right? Because that should still in full function and monitor the safety situation. I talked about the security breaches when they are on the control system. They should not affect and should be blocked from the safety system. And risk and performance improvement on the safety automation system, you can manage independently than from the process system. So they are really, if you have different systems, different tools for it, and even different networks, that's what it is. And HIMA, we concentrate on the safety system, so that's why we are not have this link to any control system. What we have an interface, and that's where the interface is between a safety system and whatever the customer runs as a control system. So we are open for that. We have an open integration to all the control systems. But from the technology point of view and on the software point of view, they are really independent from each other.
So you're very much advocating separation versus integration.
Right. That was by where HIMA started from. We started from safety systems, and we never really developed our own control system, so that we didn't have this conflict. We had always the independent safety systems because we had no control systems, but our customers and the projects always were interfacing with other control systems.
I think you touched on this earlier, Friedhelm, this issue of complexity, and certainly process safety technology is not just some box you can buy and just plug in, but rather it requires careful planning and careful deployment. So what types of services does HIMA provide through the safety lifecycle to ease implementation and maximize the safety profile of customers' facilities?
When it comes to safety, it's always for the customer. Okay, how much safety do I need? The minimum, the maximum, something in between. So at first, it starts from where the risk is, and we are helping our customers with some methodologies about to identify the hazards and risk. These are methods like HAZOP or LOPA or any risk graph. This is what our experts helping the customer to identify the risk. And then it comes, okay, what level of safety do you need so that it's also not over-engineered. It must be really to the right purpose. This is the part which is before it comes to any specification, and then we are helping the customers how to come to a specification, then to engineer and to deliver a safety system, which is then a programmable system, most of the parts, and needs the application program, needs the testing, and then the startup. And later on, during the operations, it will not stop with the safety system. You don't touch it every day to tweak it and to improve the output of your production. But the safety system needs to follow whatever is done or any changes made on the production. So the management of change or any proof testing regular needs to be fulfilled. And then we help the customer if it is for any preventive maintenance, expansion. There. Beyond of that, it's also all the training, the competence management of the operators, so that they are always aware about, okay, how to run a safety system, how to act in when something happened with the process itself. So that is really the full range of what our teams are providing here, and it's a service, it's controllers, it's a software, and the whole system as a solution. That's what we at the end provide to the customer.
So it sounds like services are a key aspect of your portfolio.
Yes, absolutely. So that's our DNA. And safety.
Right. And perhaps for the benefit of our audience, you can tell us a little bit about specific projects here in Asia Pacific that you've been involved in that illustrate the use and benefits of HIMA's products and services.
Yeah, sure. Our teams had been really the privilege to contribute to one of the large-scale LNG projects in the region. It was in Australia, or it's running at the moment in Australia, but it started 10 years back, and this can describe also the full scope, how we help our customers. At the end customer, I can name it's Impact, the ICTHIS project, and they started the investment more than 10 years back. The final investment decision has been made to build offshore facilities and onshore liquefaction of the gas, Darwin. And here we help the customers during the FEED study already to identify the right level of safety. We at the end engineered all facilities, an FPSO, offshore platform, and as well the onshore. And here was really a global collaboration. So we had across the region, we had teams in Singapore working with teams in Korea, China, Australia. They're also in the Philippines. Some modules have been developed for this plant, and we had close collaboration with our headquarters in Europe. The whole project went into operation 2018, and from then we are serving the customer a long-term service agreement. So we have people constantly on site helping the customer there. And over the project phase was also interesting. The cybersecurity aspect went more and more important. And we also enhanced the cybersecurity aspect over the last years. So now we are helping the customers for regular testing of the safety system, and if any changes on the process comes, it will be checked. Has it any implication on the safety systems? We call this today what we provided the main safety partner solution. So here we really help the customer for the full life cycle. We not let them alone after the project is delivered. No, it goes really over the whole life cycle, and have this in mind from the beginning into the operations. And that what the customer really appreciate here. And nowadays we are even providing to the existing systems more digital solutions for that, handling all the data, and that's what helps them to keep the production running.
Okay, and finally, if I may, Friedhelm, some people may be surprised to learn that HIMA is active not just in the process industries, oil and gas and chemical, but also in the rail industry, which you would think is quite different to those sectors. So can you tell us a little bit more about your activity in the railway sector?
Yeah, for sure. It's if we what we talked about oil and gas, chemical industry. So rail is completely different. What do they have in rail? They have rail track, they have locomotives, they have the rolling stock, they call it. Interesting part really, and where it starts from is, if we look in the rail industry, the basic standards for safety there is the same as for the process industry. It's the IEC 61508, but the implementation there are different standards describing that specifically for rail. And in rail here, we talked also about digital transformation. They are jumping here really from relay-based applications into programmable systems. They had for many decades really running systems which controlled like point machines on what track the train goes, or level crossings on a relay-based solutions. But they were not so flexible with that, and sometimes the maintenance consumed a lot of effort and time and cost. So they were looking for what the systems are, gives more flexibility, and they found that the safety systems are used in the process industry. It's the same requirements more or less. There are some different standards, but we didn't have to design a complete new controller. So we made small adaptations. We made the testing according to the rail standards, and now we can say in countries like in Finland, 2/3 of the railway track is controlled by HIMA safety controllers. And 4 years back, we had the first installations here in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia specifically, and then we were happy to install more in Australia, New Zealand, and now recently we also have installations in Taiwan. This is for high-speed rail. It is for transport of goods, like in Australia, in the minings, and a level crossing. At the end, there is a lot of similarities if you see from the programming of a safety system, but all the wording and all the application program is for sure different. We call it as a commercial off the shelf because the controller is already used somewhere else in the software, and you can use it from the shelf and use it in the rail industry. And this gives for the operators more flexibility, for the integrators of the systems, And yeah, they were looking for a really reliable safety system, and they found it with the HIMA controllers.
Yeah, I think that's very, very interesting, Friedhelm, that you've got footprint in the process industries and then brought that expertise over to the rail industry. I think that's quite fascinating. I really want to thank you for your time today, Friedhelm, for giving us that background into the company and your insights into process safety issues and some of the things that you've been working on with smart safety and security and some of those projects that you mentioned. So yeah, really appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure to talk to you about the functional safety and various industries. And yeah, you were really an amazing host. Thank you very much for that and for your hospitality. And for everyone who would like to more about the stories, not about the technologies, more the stories behind there, look out for the Smart Safety Hub. There you can find more about smart safety. And stay safe to everyone.
I think we'll all echo that sentiment. So we have been speaking to Mr. Friedhelm Best, Vice President, Asia Pacific Region at HIMA. Do look out for future episodes of ARC Advisory Group's Digital Transformation Podcast. Thank you very much and see you again.